Hello, I'm your host, DeMonte Edmonds of Highways TV program, and this is Freedom Podcast with Charisma Podcast Network. And today we have a very, very special treat. I can't say how much I am excited to have the change strategist, to have the leadership architect, to have a world-renowned leadership consultant with us, great minister of God as well, Dr. Samuel Chan. Thank you for joining me on today.
What an honor and privilege to be with you. Great to see you again. You have been a great leader. You have written a lot of good stuff. You have led so many other people. And I'm so excited about the great doors that God is providentially opening for you. And may that continue as you go on your journey.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And, I wanted to talk to someone that was a seasoned leader of leaders, which is yourself, and especially about ministry in the marketplace. Years ago, I first began to hear about ministry in the marketplace, and it was kind of a rarity. It was like a small substream of what God was doing in the kingdom of God. But now, as we progressed over the last 15 years or so, it's become more commonplace. And so do you see that it's progressed, or where do you think we are as far as progressing into moving ministry into the marketplace arena?
Well, if you read the New Testament, especially the book of Acts, you will notice that there was no wall between ministry and marketplace. As you look at the disciples that Jesus chose, all of the disciples of Jesus were businessmen. Every one of them was a business person.
Yes.
Professional business person, business owners. And so that is how the church was founded. How was Paul able to finance his ministry? He tells us he continued making tents. In John chapter 21, when Jesus has died, before he gets resurrected, before Peter sees him, Peter, James, and John go back fishing. So their boats were still there. Their fishing nets were still there. All the tackle was still there. The business was still there. And then as the church progressed, what started happening was that churches started building this wall of us and them. And we came to know that as clergy and laity. And we moved away from the biblical mandate of the priesthood of every believer. Doesn't matter if you're in ministry, doesn't matter if you're in marketplace, you are a priest. So if you're CEO of a company, you're a janitor at a company, you're a priest. That is your territory. And so what has happened in recent years is we started recognizing once more that it was never supposed to be ministry or marketplace. It was always supposed to be ministry in marketplace.
Yes.
Because there's marketplace wisdom in ministry, and there's ministry ethos in marketplace. So I just want to let everybody who's viewing us or hearing us to simply know, wherever you are in life, you are in ministry.
That's powerful, and I wholeheartedly agree. And I think what happened with the separation of church and state, like you said, there was this great divide. And so what happened, the church lost influence on the state out of fear that the state would have too much influence on the church. But if we influence the state, which I mean the world, the secular arena, the world as a whole, the universal, then the influence that's back on the church is going to be a positive. And so I totally agree with what you're saying. And let me ask this question as well. With the modernization, with technology and social media, I feel it presents a greater opportunity and greater window for us to have segues into the marketplace. How do you feel about the emergence of technology like we're using today?
Isn't it interesting how so many churches that were not only pro-technology, they were anti-technology. and I remember talking to some of our mutual friends, and they would say things like, well, you know how we are. We got to go to church. We can't do no praise and worship at home. And then there were preachers who said, if ain't nobody talking to me, I need somebody to talk back to me. You ain't listening. Is anybody in the house?
Yeah.
And so, all of those things went away. And technology allowed us to say to ourselves, are those the props that you have always needed? Or do you actually have more grounding? Are you deeper then ain't nobody listening. Somebody needs to say something. Somebody should know, so all that is, I mean, I'm all for that, but that is just not where we are in life. You can hoop and holler and squall all you want to, but people at home in their pajamas and a cup of coffee are saying, hey, I need somebody just to talk to me. Just talk to me. And what technology has allowed us to do is what we're doing right now. What technology has allowed us to do is to say, it has been used by the marketplace all along. Why haven't we? Why have we always felt the need to get people in a room, whereas we can still reach people? In fact, churches have found out that they can reach more people now than ever before.
Absolutely.
Because now there are no walls. The size of your church has no relevance. All that matters now is good Wi-Fi, good lighting.
Yes.
And focus on connectivity rather than communication.
Yes. And I was speaking with a pastor and I shared the same thing. I said, going virtual, the difference is now, instead of emotionalism and sensationalism, which you can do in a physical environment, with the hooping and the squalling and not judging anyone, but sometimes, let's be honest, many preachers are using filler to provoke people emotionally, to stir people up in a soulish type of way, not to actually bring transformation. And so I said, with the virtual arena, you really have to have some sound content that's bringing impact to people's lives. And so for our ministry, going virtual, it's been a blessing. We've seen people get out of wheelchairs. We had one lady, Sarah Marie Asperg, right on the video, prayed for her. She got out of a wheelchair. She's been in a wheelchair for 3 years. We saw all those type of miracles and still the working of God. God's not limited by a physical space. And so I think he's taking us out of the box in this season.
I think you're absolutely right. And the things that we have always felt were so important are still important, but not as important. And we are finding out, back to your original question, is, so how do we multiply technology? So look at you. So you moved from Virginia to Georgia.
Yes.
Not knowing a whole lot of people. And God placed you in Georgia. And guess what you did? You didn't try to find a building.
No.
No. You found what we call delivery systems. You found pipelines.
Yes.
So in your earlier remarks, you welcomed a number of different platforms so we are going to have a podcast, audio only. We'll have something that will be video, other charismas backing you, another TV channel. You have your own YouTube channel. I mean, these are opportunities that take you outside brick and mortar and put you into the environment like never before. But it is for us to say to ourselves, what are the possibilities, and go after it.
Yes, definitely. And as you're talking about the different systems and delivery systems, one of my concerns and a few others' concerns, many of the tools and technologies and systems that we use are often developed by the world. And we use all of the world's systems and tools in every area of life. But I believe that we've often been behind the bell curve. And we need to have some forward thinkers that can develop tools, systems, technology, specifically centered around kingdom advancement, but that will be appealing to the world so we can be ahead of the bell curve in this next season. How do you feel about that?
I think that's already happening. For example, in the financial realm, it is easier now for people to support the ministries of different people. And I'm not going to name any names, otherwise it will become an endorsement. But this is how you can give easily. Apps that have been created by church, interactivity that's been created by churches, and these might not be in wide uses. They may not be creating Facebook and Zoom and Instagram, but many churches I know about who have taken the need of the moment and created something very customized for their own churches and their own platforms so people can access them. There are ways to get prayers, requests in there. There's a way to get pastoral care in there. There's a way to get hospitalization and hospice care in there. So I think churches are doing what they can do in the limitations, because to create the kind of platforms that come to our mind, the ones I named, for example, earlier, it takes literally millions of dollars of investors' money. We're not talking about hundreds of thousands, we're talking about millions.
Yes.
And there's nothing sure about it. There's nothing sure about it. Having said that, I believe the church is already stepping into that space. And every church person who is engaged knows how to do that, how to do it well. And not they have honed cameras and lights and audio and the different platforms that people are on. There are friends of mine who created a whole new platform that any church in the country can use that platform free of charge to put the services out there, you know, and I will name them. They're not my clients. There's no money exchange here. They just happen to be visionary friends of mine. The pastor's name is Craig Rochelle, and it is Life Church. So lifechurch.tv. And again, please know very, very clearly, there's no business transaction or anything like that. I just want people to know that these people created the U version of the Bible, for example, that everybody uses now. That came out of that church. So they created this platform. Any church can use that platform free of charge. Technology is there. So so I think I just want to remind the church, there are geniuses in the church. And if churches and pastors will get behind these geniuses and support them and help them and clear up space on their calendars and their daily stuff so they can get their heads out of the cubicle and actually create something, I think that will be a great, great blessing that every pastor can give to their church.
I agree, and that's powerful. And all of these different programs, you're right, they're kind of spread in different places, but as visibility are brought to them, I think probably already in the church, we have some great tools and resources that we can do so much with. I have a friend, you know, he has a pretty good a big platform and following, and someone very reputable prophesied to him that he was going to start a social media platform that was going to compete at the level of one of the bigger ones that you just named. And he sent me the paperwork with the processing power, the cloud space, the data, databasing and warehousing and storage that he would need. And so I looked over that. I said, you're going to pay at least $150,000 a month when you get to your peak of what you're trying to do. And he was like, there's no way that I thought it would cost this much. And so when you talked about the millions of dollars it takes to compete at that level, I believe there's a supernatural wisdom that God's going to give some people in this next generation to tap into the capitalization for those type of projects.
Absolutely. And I think the inventors, innovators, entrepreneurs that are in the church needs to step into this space. And this is what I want to say to everyone who is in that space. Whatever you do, make sure God is glorified.
Yes.
If you do it for personal gain, you will gain. There's nothing wrong with gaining, but your gain will be earthly and temporal. But if you engage with the kingdom of God and make it available to ministry, not be focused on making money, but focused on making a difference, you need to make money. I'm not against anyone making money. I'm hoping I'll make money and hoping you make money. We all need to make money because what money does is allows us to do more ministry. But your focus needs to be, God, you gave me these gifts and talents, not for me, but for the kingdom first. And if it takes hold in the marketplace, I rejoice in that. But my scope and sphere has to be, how can I take this gospel wider and deeper and farther than ever before?
Amen. Now, you hit on something that's perfect timing. You talked about whatever we do, especially if it's a large endeavor of that degree and magnitude, it needs to be to the glory of God. And so I have many spiritual sons and daughters, and I've noticed with some of the younger emerging ministry gifts, they have more of this mindset of, you know, I need to create a name for myself. I need to do branding. I need to have this. I need to get this on my resume. They're focused more on the action than I think sometimes the heart of God, which is bringing glory to God and doing it motivated by the Spirit. So how can you talk to some of these younger leaders that are emerging that may, you know, be influenced by social media, seeing their friends, all the ministries doing great things, but they don't know, you know, many of us 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years have been laboring in private and also laboring in public, working for the glory of the Lord?
That's a huge question. So, and a great question too. So this is what I want to say to everybody. There's nothing wrong with you branding yourself. There's nothing wrong with you going after media. There's nothing wrong with getting more Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, followers. There's nothing wrong with you having more influence and a greater footprint. That's the what. The question that is behind the what or next to the what is the why.
Yes.
Why do you want this? Is this for your ego? Is it for your personal gain? Is it for you to drive better, live better, wear better, eat better? Just to say I have more? What is the why behind the what? So I'm all good with the what, but the why is the motivations. And the Bible tells us that our heart is deceitful. And the Bible tells us that our motivations is what we're going to be judged by. So you, for example, you can help somebody, but if your motivation is to get more business from them, then you've already got your reward.
You're right.
Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Please note that. But that's not the highest why. The highest motivation, the highest why is, God, you placed me on this planet. You gave me gifts. You gave me talents. And one day you're going to come back. And you're going to ask me what I do with that. And at that time, I have to say to you, I invested it into the kingdom and look at my results. So we are not placed on this planet just to suck air, occupy square footage, and then die and occupy a 6x4 piece of real estate somewhere. No, God put us on this planet to be difference makers. That's why I said you're the light. You're the salt. So we are world changers. We're difference makers. So I want to say to all of my, and I don't want to just say young, I want to say to all of my ministry and marketplace friends, do a motivation check. Ask yourself, why do I do what I do? And I want to tell you, motivations are tough because I can fool myself at all times. I can be self-delusional. I lie more to me than to anybody else. So having said that, you just need to say, what are my motivations? Why am I doing this? Why am I using these gifts? And to God be the glory. Once you do that, you'll be fine.
Thank you. And thank you. I believe that's right on target. And we have to do those heart checks, even people that have been a little bit more seasoned. And so I think that's great wisdom, especially for emerging leaders that are coming up in this hour. And so, Dr. Chan, let me ask you as well. You have the Samuel Chan Leadership Institute. Is there any products or books or events or anything, projects you have coming up that you want to share with the people, or anything on your heart that you want to share?
Thank you for asking. So let me start with a free one. So when we went into lockdown in March of 2020, instead of me going to lockdown, I decided to start publishing a Christian leadership journal. It is 132 pages long, glossy, 5-color, Christian leadership. It's all about leadership now.
Okay, it's beautiful.
So, but it's Christian leadership. It's eclectic. You can get this. It's every quarter. You can get this free of charge for the next year in your mail. In your mail. This will come in your mailbox. And the way you get that is simply go to availjournal.com. Avail, A-V-A-I-L, availjournal.com. Availjournal.com. And then I have a special that I started running during COVID days for my Leadership Institute. My Leadership Institute retails for $2,000 a year. We said, no, we're not going to do that anymore.
Wow.
Trying to practice what I just taught. And I said, let's make it available and say to people, whatever you want to pay, whatever you want to pay. No questions asked, no negotiating, no pushback. In a moment, I'll give you the link for that. Whatever you want to pay for that, pay for that. So what you get for it, you get 12 books, a book a month. One of my books, every month, you get a book. It's all digital. It's all online. Now, if you want to buy hard copies, those are available as well. But you'll get a book a month, one of my books. Number two, you can get 4 videos every month teaching that book. So you'll get the book, hard copy or digital, and you will get 4 videos teaching that book. So in the 12-month period, you'll get 12 books, about 50 videos, and the conclusion, you'll get a certificate from the Sam Chand Leadership Institute, certificate of completion from the Sam Chand Leadership Institute. And the price is right, whatever you want to pay. In fact, if you want to pay once, that's fine. If you say I'll pay X amount every month, that's fine. So the link for that is just my name, Sam Chand, SamChand.com/COVID.
Thank you so much.
Sam Chand,
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
SamChand.com/COVID. And you can pay whatever you want to. It's yours.
I think that's very powerful, and I think you're definitely you're practicing what you preach, and the material is worth more. He's giving it away for literally almost free for what you want to pay, but it's worth more than $2,000. I was telling Dr. Chand before that I had the opportunity to read his books as a teenager in my aunt's house, Aunt Bonnie. She has a slew of his books, a ton of his books. I think she has a whole shelf of Dr. Samuel Chand. And so I always heard about Dr. Samuel Chand. And I remember as a teenager, I picked up one of his books and just began to read it. And I wasn't, in ministry then, but it just intrigued me. So I know it's some great content and it's going to be impactful for your lives. And so please check it out, follow up on it. And Dr. Chand, before we go, I want to thank you for being on. I want to ask you as well, one last question. If you had to give just maybe 1 or 2 sentences or 3 sentences for leaders, something to help them pull it all together, a mantra, a motto, sorry, not motto, but a mantra, a maxim that they can keep in their mind, or something that's heavy on your heart for leaders, what would you tell them? A quick word.
Wow. That took me to when I was 28 years of age. I'll be 69 this year. I just started pastoring my church in Michigan. First time I was the senior pastor of a church, a country church in Michigan. And I was at a conference and talking to an elderly minister, a leader in our movement. His name was Dr. Chester Miller. Dr. Chester Miller. This was in Ohio. And I remember standing in the parking lot and I said to him, Brother Miller, this was 1980, okay, August of 1980. I said to him, Brother Miller, I just started pastoring a church. If you could give me one piece of advice, what would it be? He was a man of few words. This is what he said to me. He said to me, Brother Sam, live long and live clean.
Wow.
I thought he was going to say something else. And he walked away. And I felt like the rich young ruler saying, is this all? I mean, what meaneth this? But as I've gotten older and older and older, it makes more sense to me today than ever before. So I want to say to every leader in ministry and marketplace, live long, live clean. Don't mess up, because your legacy is not going to be your houses, your lands, your cars, your clothes, the size of your church, the people on your staff, the business acumen that you have. Your legacy will not be what you leave behind. Your legacy will be who you leave behind. So I'll leave you the words of Dr. Chester Miller. Live long.
That's powerful. Thank you. And so you guys heard it from Dr. Samuel Chand, the change strategist, the leadership architect. I want to personally thank you again for being here on the broadcast with me. I know so much wisdom was shared, and I know we'll have you back again. So thank you so much, Dr. Chand.
Thank you.